which he nodded smilingly. Zhu Wai urged them to keep their voices down and keep this a secret. Zhu Ting, however, reminded her brother that he had been the loudest just a moment ago. Zhu Wai then asked him what his next plans were, mentioning that selling it could make an unimaginable fortune. He also pointed out that in these dangerous times, no one would refuse something that boosts their strength. He remained silent, pondering, when suddenly his phone rang. He excused himself to check the message. Reading aloud from their class group chat, he announced that Kai Wai had informed everyone that the school was planning to organize all the senior 3 students for a leveling up session in a secret area of a neighboring city, starting next Monday. Due to limited space, each class would use it in shifts in designated areas, so they needed to prepare seriously and cooperate actively. As he read the group chat, Ma Ziobo commented that if they didn't level up, they would fail the college entrance examination. Zhang Luo added that he had heard the secret area was crowded lately, so there weren't enough monsters for everyone. Ma Ziobo asked why it was like that, and Fang Yu explained that with the rising anxiety everywhere, many 1-star and 2-star professionals were trying to level up again to protect themselves. He mentioned that he had tried to buy experience potions, but they were sold out and disappeared as soon as they were stocked. Zhang Luo agreed, noting that without experience potions, they were falling even further behind. He considered his classmates' conversation seriously, and then told Zhu Wai that he planned to use the experience potions for his own people first and sell them later. Zhu Ting called him boss and asked if she was considered one of his own, to which he replied, of course. Zhu Ting excitedly proclaimed that with his assurance, she and Wang Yu would be his bodyguards in the future. She then told her brother to use the potion as he pleased and not to be polite. He knew the potions were a hot commodity and that once they hit the market, they would definitely cause a sensation. Aware that the potential for huge profits could attract unwanted attention like flies buzzing around, similar to Cheng, he thought it better to first strengthen the people close to him and build his own influence. This way, when someone tried to play dirty tricks, they would have to think twice. He then inquired if the berserker in their team was named Zhu Jiangshu and mentioned that the experience potion could be considered part of Jiangshu's share as well. Wang Yu expressed her approval, saying that was great, and Zhu Ting added that he was the best, mentioning Jiangshu had been worried about not getting into the same university as them. He smiled, knowing Jiangshu was quite strong and got along well with Wang Yu, so they could consider including him. Zhu Wai playfully called him buddy but then corrected himself to boss, asking if he had any other prescriptions, to which he replied affirmatively and handed them over. Zhu Wai examined them seriously, noting that the list included many ingredients, some of which he had never heard of. He recognized the materials on 2 of the cards but admitted that his current skills were not sufficient to craft them. He agreed, acknowledging that these were prescriptions from another world, and it would be beneficial if they could use even a few of them. Wang Yu then suggested, since they were discussing it, that when the first batch of experience potions was ready, they should invite Jiangshu to level up together, a proposal Zhu Ting readily agreed with. Wang Yu then grabbed his shoulder, telling him he should join them too. He began to protest, asking why him again, but she reassured him not to worry because the city had just issued a notice allowing guilds to organize teams for leveling up outside, and he should simply come along with them. Before he could object further, Zhu Wai interjected that if they wanted enough potions for everyone, they needed to be ready by next Monday. Wang Yu set the plan for next Monday, thanking them for their hard work, while Zhu Ting jokingly remarked that her brother was idle anyway. He, feeling slightly overlooked, wondered why they hadn't asked for his opinion first. Days passed, and Monday arrived. He called Wang Yu to inform her that he was at the waiting place. Wang Yu instructed him to just wait by the roadside because they would be there shortly. As he waited as instructed, the class bus approached. The students inside wondered aloud if he was the person they were expecting, noting that they were heading out to level up today, but Ning Feng was not there. One of the female students questioned what Ning Feng was doing, acting like a tag-along, while one of the men remarked that even if Ning Feng wanted to tag along, no one would pick him up because, with such a low level, it was unclear who would need to protect whom in the dungeon, causing laughter to ripple through the bus. The stoplight turned green, and the bus continued driving away. One of the students suggested ignoring Ning Feng, the perceived underachiever, and using the time to catch some more sleep, which the others agreed with, though they expressed concern about how long they'd have to wait once they arrived at the secret area. Later, at the dungeon entrance, Ning Feng's classmates, along with Kai Wai, arrived at the site. A man asked Kai Wai when they could enter, and she informed him that it would probably take about 2 hours. Surprised, a woman asked if the wait would indeed be that long, to which Kai Wai responded that since they were in the second class, being part of the first batch to go in was already quite fortunate. Suddenly, the man spotted someone and exclaimed in surprise, asking if it was Ning Feng. The group then saw him accompanied by Wang Yu, Zhu Jiangshu, Zhu Ting, and Zhu Wai, which shocked everyone. The group headed to the dungeon entrance without lining up, prompting one of the students to loudly question why Ning Feng could bypass the line. Kai Wai explained that Ningfeng was leading the Shushi Guild, so he was heading directly to the deeper parts of the dungeon where there were fewer people, which was different from their situation. One man questioned how Ningfeng dared venture into the depths of the dungeon where any random monster could overpower him, and another angrily inquired what made him different from someone like Ningfeng, declaring that he too wanted to be led by the Sushi Guild and the Wang Goddess. At that moment, someone asked if by Wang Goddess he was referring to Wang Yu, ranked 5th on the National Super Rookie list, to which the student affirmed. Meanwhile, the guild leader told his team it seemed they had come to the right place. A woman in the guild announced it was time to go in, and they too headed to the dungeon entrance without lining up. The man inquired who they were to act so privileged, and the woman responded that those three, like Wang Yu, were all rookies on the National Super Rookie list. She introduced herself as Chang Muku, ranked 4th, the large man as Lai Qi, ranked 3rd, and the man as Gu Yunju, ranked 2nd. Deep in the dungeon, Zhao Jiangshu examined the potion with excitement and asked if it indeed was the experience potion with a 100% bonus. Zhu Ting playfully hit Jiangshu from behind, telling him to lower his voice, jokingly asking if he wanted everyone else to hear. Apologetic, Jiangshu explained he got too excited. He then asked Zhu Wai if it was true that the potion was very expensive. Zhu Wai responded that it wasn't too costly as the materials were common and the refining method straightforward, which paradoxically made the prescription very valuable. He speculated that if one could enhance strength at relatively low costs, nobody would refuse. Such a potion could even make Ningfeng a guest of honor in any top guild. Zhu Ting, bubbling with enthusiasm, told him that they all benefited from the big boss this time. Jiangshu chimed in, saying there was no need for many thanks, but in the future they should feel free to command him directly. He reassured them that since they were all on the same team, there was no need for formalities. Wang Yu watched them, reflecting on how Ningfeng, who wasn't good at socializing, had always had very few friends. This was especially true after his failed first awakening at 16, which led to mockery at school and made him more reclusive. It was rare to see him chatting so happily, and she hoped that from now on, Ningfeng could pick himself up. Clearing her throat to draw attention, she instructed everyone that since they didn't have a tank or magic output this time, they needed to ensure maximum safety in combat. She advised Ningfeng to avoid acting rashly to not attract monster attention and assign roles. Jiangshu would primarily tank, Zhu Ting would focus on buffs and protective skills, and Zhu Wai was to use potions opportunistically. They all nodded in understanding. Ningfeng stayed quiet, knowing that leveling up this way was too slow for his liking. But for the sake of team morale, he decided to go along with it. After all, rushing through levels with forbidden curses wasn't urgent and served mainly to gauge everyone's strength. Wang Yu then notched an arrow, drew her bow, and released it towards the monsters. The arrow exploded upon impact, eliciting screams of pain from the creatures. Sensing their presence, the monsters charged towards them. Zhu Ting raised her staff, channeling power from the crystal atop it to boost Jiangshu's strength. Jiangshu then lifted his massive axe and slammed it into the ground, unleashing a powerful underground attack that surged towards the advancing monsters. Meanwhile, Zhu Wai hurled his potions at the monsters, causing each impacted creature to burst into flames and turn to ashes. He excitedly shouted about the rapid increase in experience points and predicted that at this rate, he'd soon be able to refine a new type of potion. Jiangshu and Zhu Ting bumped fists, equally thrilled, proclaiming that they, too, could achieve their second transformation before the college entrance examination and join Wang Yu at a top university. However, their celebration was cut short by a laughing sound at the entrance, which sent a wave of panic through them. Jiangshu called out, asking who was there. A voice apologized, explaining that the laughter was involuntary. As they turned, they saw the top rookies of the nation entering the dungeon. Gu Yunju remarked that it was quite interesting to hear someone who hadn't even reached the second transformation talk so casually about getting into a top university. Zhu Ting informed them that they were on the National Super Rookie list. Gu Yunju teasingly replied that their fame wasn't bad since they were recognized so quickly. Wang Yu, noting that these rookies were not from around Kinyu City, wondered about their presence. She approached them and confirmed that they were simply leveling up, then inquired if the newcomers needed something. Gu Yunju replied that they had come specifically to find Wang Yu, then casually inquired why Ningfeng was asleep behind them. He then proposed that she consider joining their team, catching Wang Yu's team by surprise. However, she firmly responded that there was no need, as she already had her own team. Gu Yunju acknowledged her response but added that her team included the mage, Zhao Cheng, who was ranked 14th on the National Super Rookie list, suggesting that Cheng might also want to give their offer a try. He conceded that although Cheng's ranking was somewhat low, they should consider it a favor to her. Wang Yu clarified her stance, reiterating that she had no interest in joining another guild. Gu Yunju urged her not to refuse so quickly, explaining that in a small place like Kinyu City, information might be outdated. He elaborated that due to frequent anomalies in the dungeon, monsters were becoming increasingly challenging, and the 3 key universities had raised their admission standards. Only elite teams or individuals with highly favorable conditions were being recruited, and spots were limited. He emphasized that it was a rare opportunity and noted that all the rookies on the list were restructuring their teams, including his own, which was why they were inviting her specifically because of her team's potential. He seriously reminded her not to forget her destiny to become strong and then teasingly commented that weakness was the greatest sin. Wang Yu, angered, drew her sword, but Gu Yunju cautioned her not to get too excited, pointing out that as a ranged damage dealer, she wouldn't want to engage him there. Zhu Ting intervened, advising Wang Yu to let it go and suggesting they level up elsewhere to avoid further conflict. Wang Yu didn't verbally respond but walked off in another direction, and her team followed. Ningfeng, having just woken up and overheard the exchange, thought to himself that Gu Yunju really needed a reality check on his approach. However, he doubted whether he could outmatch him. Just then, as he tried to catch up with his team, Lai Qi stepped in front of him, arrogantly asking if he was Zhao Cheng. When Ningfeng replied no, Lai Qi dismissively told him to get lost and called him useless, prompting Ningfeng to glare furiously at Lai Qi. Jiangshu stepped in to defend Ningfeng, shouting at them that they were crossing the line. However, Lai Qi simply flexed his power, tauntingly questioning whether Jiangshu really thought he could protect others just by himself. Lai Qi then threw a punch, which Jiangshu managed to block with his arms, but Lai Qi followed through with another powerful swing, striking Jiangshu directly in the chest. Wang Yu, worried, called out Jiangshu's name and started to move towards them, but Gu Yunju quickly blocked her path. Infuriated, she yelled at him to get out of the way. Gu Yunju flinched, surprised and angered by her reaction. From the ground, Jiangshu yelled back at her that he was fine and urged her not to come closer, although he secretly felt several of his ribs crack under the force of Lai Qi's punch, realizing that Lai Qi was intentionally being brutal. He then tells Ningfeng to step back, thinking he can't let him get involved. Lai Qi mocked Jiangshu, calling him useless. In a burst of anger, Jiangshu launched a retaliatory fist, shouting at Lai Qi to go to hell. However, he was taken aback as Lai Qi's fist suddenly closed in on his face in mere seconds. Zhu Ting and Wang Yu, from a distance, raised their weapons ready to intervene and protect Jiangshu. Just as Lai Qi's fist was about to connect with Jiangshu's face, it was abruptly stopped. Ningfeng, who had swiftly moved into the fray, caught Lai Qi's fist mid-air, halting the attack. Wang Yu called out Ningfeng's name in confusion, and everyone was stunned to witness his incredible strength. Realizing he couldn't move, Lai Qi was shocked by Ningfeng's power. With ease, Ningfeng grabbed Lai Qi's arm, swung him around, and hurled him forcefully against a nearby massive stone. The impact shattered the stone, and debris fell onto Lai Qi. Ningfeng taunted him, calling him trash. Gu Yunju, distracted from Wang Yu, rushed to check on Lai Qi, but as he turned, Wang Yu shot an arrow that struck him in the buttocks, causing his eyes to bulge in pain and his hands to clutch the wounded area. Zhu Ting covered her mouth to stifle her laughter, and Mukyu stood in shock, unable to believe that the mage had defeated the berserker with bare hands and that the archer had hit the human shield at close range, especially given that Gu Yunju and Lai Qi were the elites of Supernova. Ningfeng expressed his frustration, noting that he had hoped to maintain a low profile and handle things quietly, but their actions were forcing him to reveal his capabilities, which he found troublesome. He then instructed Zhu Ting, who was still in shock, to focus and quickly treat Jiangshu. She responded affirmatively and began administering aid to Jiangshu. Ningfeng asked Jiangshu what they should do with Lai Qi, pointing towards him, but Jiangshu replied that he didn't know and would follow Ningfeng's orders. Noticing that everyone's attitude towards him had shifted to reverence, Ningfeng commanded Jiangshu, with a smile, to strip Lai Qi of his equipment as a form of compensation, which Jiangshu agreed to do. Gu Yunju, still on the ground, shouted angrily, calling them thieves and questioning how they dared to rob them. In response, Ningfeng slammed his fist into the ground near Gu Yunju, shattering it into pieces, and demanded, "What did you say?" Startled, Gu Yunju quickly changed his tone, commenting that the equipment he wore wasn't so bad and if Ningfeng liked it, he was free to take it. Ningfeng then put his hand on Gu Yunju's shoulder, noting that he was finally showing some sense. He stated he preferred to avoid trouble but warned that if there was any hint of retaliation from them later, they knew what would happen. Gu Yunju, trying to placate the situation, assured him there would be no repercussions and admitted that they had been blind to the situation, acknowledging they had brought this upon themselves. Mukyu, who was almost stripped of her gear, pointed out that all her equipment was there and suggested he should check it. Both Ningfeng and Gu Yunju were taken aback by her remark. Ningfeng responded sweetly, commending her sensibility, and then told his team they should move forward to level up, leaving Mukyu blushing with embarrassment. His team excitedly agreed. As they walked to the front, Wang Yu remarked that she had initially planned to help him level up, but no one would have guessed he was so skilled. He laughed and reminded her that he had only recently awakened, and being too showy could lead to trouble. Wang Yu